Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. We are so glad that you are joining us for the Saturday evening weekly setup. Welcome. My name is Katie Gideon. I will be your on-screen facilitator for this event. And a huge shout out to my co-facilitator who will be in the chat, Jennifer, who is dialing in from Texas. You have, again, former Team Texas, but we are still Team Texas at heart. So we're always so glad to be here, always so glad to join everybody on their Silk and Sonder journey to set up their next week. So quick kind of thing, if you are new to this, welcome. Let us know in the chat if this is your first ever social or your first ever weekly social, or if this is your first time at a Saturday evening social, because I feel like it's a vibe in and of itself. Because I love seeing some of our returning socialers. I feel like my Saturday is not complete without seeing your all's lovely names across my screen. But we're super excited to get started. If you have your January journal, that's what we're going to be working in. If you are getting a jump start on February and you don't have a journal, then you can just grab some notepad, post-it notes, anything like that, whatever you need. And then as always, you are welcome to share as much or as little in the chat. But if you do want to share, make sure the setting for 2 is for everyone. That goes into the larger chat with the Sonder family, so you can get your questions, comments, all of those wonderful things. Or if you just have hosts and panelists, that comes to myself and Jen, and we'll be able to answer those questions. But we are so excited that you are here, and we are so excited to get started. As always, remember to be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. And then, as always, limit repetitive product and accessory questions and redirect any of your customer care inquiries to headquarters. While Jennifer and I can usually answer some questions, we do not have all the answers. And hello@silkandsonder.com is an excellent place to be there. And then, as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if you've had a day, a week, a month, or even a year, we were talking about Friends, so it goes right into the Friends theme song. Maybe you need to set up some of those mental or emotional boundaries of things you just don't want to discuss, don't want to talk about, because this should not be negatively triggering. It should be a tool in your toolbox to dive a little bit deeper on your self-care journey. But we want you to make the most out of the time together, and we are so glad that you're here, and we are ready to get started. So we are still under the theme of ambition, which again, I still think is a really interesting, I know interesting can be good, bad, and something in between, but an interesting theme. I feel like it's been a definite deeper thinking theme where it's not really something that you can kind of easily answer. Everyone has their own perspective, but we have had some amazing conversations in the chat just about all the different perspectives around ambition. And so as I'm kind of continuing to close out ambition for this month, I am now looking at the kind of relationship that I have of my own personal ambition and then the ambition of others. Which is why I really love this quote: until it's my turn, I will keep copying for others. It's really that simple, because I feel like so much of that is you feel like your ambition doesn't work unless you have maybe that satisfying answer. And then I think Jennifer and I talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago, where it was like you get the understanding, especially as a woman in a lot of places, that there are only so many spots available. So there's just kind of that overly aggressive competition that I don't, I feel like it's one of those things that'll kind of keep you up at night. I know it keeps me up at night, and I feel like it kind of feeds it, but is that a good way to feed the ambition? Or is that just another thing that's going to delay my ability to sleep at night? And I think it also leads into a couple of the really good questions that we have looked at in our mind map. So again, those are my kind of thoughts on ambition. So please definitely share yours as we go throughout the evening. We will be covering our mind map. We'll also be doing our rosebud thorn and then our weekly setup pages. So if you are joining us for the first time, we do a weekly mind map with the weekly setup as the kind of starting exercise. And so this month we have, I know there's a couple more weeks in January, but we're covering the 4 different weeks for the full week. So next weekend, we will be covering the next month's theme, which will be February. So if you haven't done the mind map before, it is kind of a deeper dive into the aspects of the theme. And so we ask a couple different questions, another perspective to look at it. And I think these questions this month have been a little trickier to answer because there's kind of been more to it. So while I have written things down in my journal, I feel like I found more magic in the chats about the different kind of conversations we've had around it, because it's so refreshing to see other perspectives, but also there's kind of a magic in seeing the positivity of other perspectives and all those things. And so without further ado, if you turn to a blank page or the page that you already have your mind map set up, we have the previous weeks there. So if you show up late or miss a week, you can always come to the previous ones. And so the question we're asking this one is, do you believe that too much ambition can be a bad thing? Or only a lot of ambition without care for other aspects of your life, the kind of all-consuming? And then of course the magical why, which I feel like can definitely have like an open-ended thing. So here again is the prompt as well. I've also added kind of some other questions of kind of how I got to maybe my answer, which is you can always return to the theme of ambition or synonyms. For me in particular, ambition kind of went hand in hand with aspiration this week. So that was kind of the area that I went, whereas, motivation was a previous week with ambition, and then inspiration was kind of even hand in hand there. So I feel like I've been able to overlay some of these synonyms really nicely, which gives me a more kind of thorough, answer. And then as always, you could maybe tie this into other traits that you associate with ambition. Is this something to consider before you kind of make a decision, or does it move more into the hindsight reflection on maybe the outcome of the situation that maybe you had the definitely gung-ho gumption to tackle? And then I always think of does your thoughts on this change your kind of relationship and opinion on ambition, if there can be defined as too much ambition or kind of an overcasting of ambition? And so for me, I have a very kind of scientific, analytical working mind. So I always start with what's the end goal and work backwards. So I have like very almost to the point of methodical approach to this, but then I overlay the emotions. The emotions will get me every time. And that is the stuff that certainly keeps me up at night, even though I know at the end of it, the justification is like, well, we reached our goal, but did we go about it the rest way? Could it done better? Did I burn so many bridges on the way that I can't fix them? Or have I burned just enough, or at least I'm aware of what I burned, those type of things. So I know those are extreme on kind of the maybe slightly pessimistic side, but that was kind of my approach. So we would love to hear your approach. Don't worry, I will scroll back and forth through a couple of these slides. I know someone else wanted the quote that I had on earlier. So let us know how you feel about maybe too much ambition, or kind of, can it be overpowering, or is there a good way to find a balance, which I feel like we're here for anyway. So I'll give you some time to work on that, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I totally agree. I feel like this is one of those, like, I definitely like the more philosophical, cerebral, deep world questions that this mind map has kind of triggered for this month, to the point I am extremely satisfied with the way my mind map looks. And I also think Elizabeth absolutely kind of hit a kind of key point, especially coming out of this kind of question, is that ambition is certainly going to look different during different types of your life. And tapping into that ambition to kind of help define some of those milestones, I think is killer. But what I also think is great is I think it also shows that ambition as a whole, where you have kind of an initial thought on it, be it, again, ambition is a dirty word, ambition is bad, ambition is good, but then you get into kind of all whatever, cheesy movie Hollywood quotes around ambition. But really, I think it comes down to ambition is adaptable. And because it is adaptable, that means it's extremely valuable and very helpful. Because maybe your ambition is going to look a little bit different for each situation, each circumstance, each milestone, each chapter of your life. But being able to remind yourself that because ambition can look a little bit different, maybe if you're struggling to find or connect with ambition during those kind of periods, you have the opportunity to adjust it, reframe it, or just look at it a little bit differently. Because again, it's going to have the same definition, but the adaptability of this type of kind of core value and core trait means it can be used as whatever motivation, inspiration, aspiration that you could really need. So thank you everyone for definitely diving kind of very deeply into this. I appreciate it. And now we're going to move into our rosebud thorn, which is an excellent reflection on the previous week or previous month, kind of however you want to look at it. But we are going to be on page 44 in your January journal. So this is the closeout of the previous weekly spread. And like I said, this gives you a great opportunity to celebrate the wins, acknowledge those kind of maybe lower points, get excited for something so that we can kind of continue through with the monthly intentions and monthly reflections of the start, stop, and continue, or just acknowledge and celebrate the roller coaster that can be a week. So for a rose, that is going to be a highlight, something that went well, something that made you happy, something that made you smile, kind of, the good. So for me, I am had some really success finally finding a balance between kind of my hobbies and my work. And I've just been really happy being able to do the things I want to do, which is definitely make playlists for all these socials. But also I've been reading a lot more. I've been able to go out and kind of take the kind of fun, no pressure walks, because I'm not, walking because I'm upset and need to let go of some things. It's more of the I am walking because I have the time and I enjoy it and I can kind of distract myself, but also enjoy the distraction. The bud is an emerging opportunity, something that you're looking forward to, maybe something that's on the horizon that you just know what it's going to look like yet, but it gives you an opportunity to maybe, is that something you're going to want to start, stop, or maybe something you can continue? So for me, the buds are quite simple. One, I am super excited. Shrek the Musical is one of my favorite guilty pleasures when it comes to musicals. So I am going to go see that on Monday because it makes me so happy. I love the movie. I grew up loving the movie. I love the soundtracks. The musical is even better. And then I'm also kind of mildly interested to see if the actor playing Shrek is going to be actually Scottish, or am I going to get another Scottish accent in Scotland? And then also, I'm not a big breakfast person, but I have family and friends that are coming to visit who do like breakfast. So I'm going to go try out a new brunch place because I'm going to have pancakes. So I'm excited about that. The thorn is a challenge, something that isn't going well, something that is concerning, something that was negative, the speed bump, the road bump, any of those things. For me, the thorn this week was I'm kind of having joint pain. I don't know if that's just the workouts I'm doing, the shoes I'm wearing, all of those things, or is it kind of underlying symptoms of my autoimmune disease? So I always get a little nervous when it comes to joint pain. Or I also feel like at some point you kind of realize that you're at a certain stage in life where that is kind of a new normal. But like I said, it always makes me a little nervous and I overthink it. And that's one of those things that I'm going to continue to keep an eye on it. So again, please join us on page 44 and let us hear your kind of rosebuds and thorns for the week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Love celebrating all of the roses for this week. Sending the kind of optimism for all of those buds, but then also sending extra love, support, thoughts for those thorns that have happened this past week. But like I said, I'm a big fan of this exercise because I not only find it a really good reflection tool to see what kind of week you had, and maybe make some adjustments to have maybe a different week, but fully aware that there are things that are outside of your control. But then I also have noticed that it becomes a really good tool to kind of what type of mental kind of space I'm in. I feel like there are times when I am really struggling to find a rose. That means I'm in just one of those moods. And so I need to not make any major decisions or, be around certain people in those type of situations. But at the same time, I feel like I have certainly noticed and made a conscious effort sometimes that if I do find myself a little down and a little on the negative thinking, to kind of track a rose a day, even if it's something as little as I showed up to work on time or I, did something. Again, it doesn't always have to be big. It can be absolutely little, but those type of things. So always an opportunity to reflect. And we love sharing in those rosebud thorns with our Sonder fam. So thank you everyone for sharing. Please, now we're gonna move into the weekly planner. So please join us on page 46 and 47 in the January journal. We're gonna start on the first page, which is 46, and then we'll move to the second page, which is 47. And as always, there is no right or wrong way to journal. Just because there are certain examples in the presentation or I provide different examples doesn't mean that there's a right or wrong way to do that or the only way to do it. So the opportunity to repurpose is absolutely there. But sometimes it can be easy to just kind of do it as listed. And that can be if you have kind of a very intense week coming up. And so kind of simplicity, maybe what you need and what you need to focus on. And then there are other days that you're feeling creative and you want to stretch some of those creative muscles. But again, there is no right or wrong way to do this. No one is grading you. So continue with that as we kind of go through this because we love hearing all of your different ideas. So we're going to start at the top of page 46 with this week I want to feel. And the way I approach this is how do I want to feel this time next week? Because again, as I said, got a scientific mind. So what is my baseline? What is my end goal? And what are the things that I can then manipulate so that this time next week, I feel the way I wanted to feel sitting here. So there are, again, no right or wrong ways to do this. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a phrase, maybe it's a quote, maybe it's just 1% better. Maybe it's the phrasing around, I want to feel more this and I want to feel less that. Again, no right or wrong answers. I'm going to turn on a little bit of music for a short amount of time and start throwing into the chat all the ways you want to feel this time next week. Thank you everyone for sharing. What I like about this section is it doesn't matter what kind of week I had, and it always at least puts me in an optimistic and positive mindset to tackle the next week, no matter what it's going to look like, because there is some excitement that I can always kind of come around of how do I want to feel this time next week. So thank you everyone for sharing. Like I said, the seeing all of the different phrases and how you guys want to feel this week always makes me smile. And who knew that the bassoon would be so motivating? So that also cracks me up. So we are still on page 46, and we are going to do our weekly major 3 goals, or maybe these are just your weekly 3 goals. Maybe this is the weekly major 1 goal, whatever combination of major and 3 that you want it to be. But the way I kind of think in terms of this is what are the maybe emotional or mental reminders that I kind of need to kind of overlay of these are the 3 things I need to focus on to feel the way I want to feel this time next week. A couple other of the ideas are we've got some really great motivational stickers out there. So maybe this is where you kind of don't really want to think too much in detail of your specific goals, but there are some stickers that will certainly speak to you. Same thing with maybe it's a category thing. Maybe it's a professional, a mind, a body, heart. What I like about the one on the bottom left is their how they wanted to feel this time next week was calm, centered, and creative. So they tied those weekly goals into a calm mind, a strong and centered body, and a creative spirit. And then you can always do, again, a mind, body, spirit, a frog, fun and fierce. Frog being something that you have to do that you're not really looking forward to. Fun is something that you want to do. And fierce is maybe the thing that you need to build some confidence, or maybe something you need to kind of prepare for. Or as someone I saw, this was their least favorite section. So maybe goals aren't your thing. You can absolutely repurpose this section for something else. The bottom right is a morning and evening routine. I also read in one of our other socials is that they actually use this section for the to-do list because they need the lines. Their checklist needs lines, and their major goals go into the blank space. And then the one on the bottom left is a connection of the mind, body, and soul that ties into their to-do list bingo. So there are no right or wrong ways to do this. Let us know what 3 major goals or just goals in general you want to accomplish this week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Love seeing the different categories that you have. And also, again, I feel like I always tend to go down when I speak up numbers, but you can absolutely have four or more goals. And that's again what I really like about these is we are breaking up with perfection. So if the section doesn't work for you, if the phrase doesn't work for you, you can cover it with washi tape, you can mark it out, all the magical things. To make this a function for you. So thank you everybody for sharing. We are staying on page 46 and we're moving across the page to the weekly to-dos. And so with the weekly to-dos, these can be the to-do list. Maybe it is your to-do list. The difference between the to-do and the to-do is the celebration because it is all to-done. So there are different those approaches there because I also think mentality is everything. So if I can make those subtle changes to make it a success, I will absolutely do it. You can also use the Eisenhower matrix, which is the do, decide, delegate, and drop. For those of you that have been following my light bulb saga, I delegated that, and now all of my light bulbs have been fixed and repaired, and so I have light, and I am thrilled. So, you can also use the Pomodoro technique, which is where you have your list of tasks. You set a timer to accomplish your tasks. Once the timer goes off, you can do something else or then come back to it. Maybe this is also a dread list. I feel like I kind of fell into the dread list category because so many of my things kept getting carried over from week to week, hence the light bulb saga. So there are things that you just kind of maybe need to buckle down and tackle. So that is when I brought in a different tool that I usually don't use, which was the Eisenhower matrix. I am more of a ta-da person. But there are different ways to do it. Same thing with, I know folks are bingo players. So maybe this is your ta-da bingo. What I do love is that someone also mentioned with the bingos is they include some of their appointments or kind of those things that you have to do versus some of those things that you want to do. Because at the end of the day, you only have 24 hours in a day. And sometimes you need to kind of acknowledge the things that absolutely take up your time and the things that you choose to do your time with. So that is where the kind of categories of need, want, and hope can come, especially if you got a lot of things to do. This is a really great prioritization tool because sometimes the difference between ambition and motivation and laziness is just the overwhelming need to prioritize. So it becomes the need to do, want to do, hope to do. Maybe it is a to-do list. Maybe you're like, I don't need to put my to-dos here because I put them somewhere else. And maybe this is where your exercise time lives. Maybe this is where just the motivational quote or sticker lives, which is the ambition equals passion and passion plus persistence. So there are no, again, right or wrong ways to hear, but let us know, are you team to do, to da, to done, team bingo, team Eisenhower matrix? We love seeing all of it. We embrace all of the teams here. And we will check in shortly. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your different to-dos, to-das, bingos. Also, that you have your to-do lists elsewhere. That I think is what's really nice about this is maybe you just need to kind of shake it up each week. The opportunity to start each week new, each week fresh, I think is great because we know that each week is going to look a little bit different. You know, your week in December is going to look very different than a week in August or a week on vacation versus I feel like I always think of the accounting folks. I know your end of the month always looks crazy compared to everything else. So the opportunity to tailor this each week, I think, is magical because I'm also a big fan of one of those that I feel like you can absolutely set yourself up for success as long as you manage your expectations. So we are still on page 46. We're moving to our habit and activity tracker at the bottom. The difference between the monthly habits and activities versus the weekly habits and activities, the way I kind of approach it is for the monthly, that is something you want to do every single day. And then I will carry a couple over into my weekly. And that's where I add, again, that lens of reality, where I always use this example, but it's an example I love. I want to work out every day. I change that to move every day. And depending on the type of day that I'm going to have, sometimes I will only have time for my like 20-minute walk to work. So that is my movement for the day. Or I've got a little bit more time, or it's cold, or it's rainy, and I'm going to set aside a specific time to do like an indoor workout, those type of things. Same thing with I like to read every day. I like to journal every day, but I will make adjustments on what my week is going to look like because I definitely get to read more if I'm traveling versus like I got to have crazy time, but I still got to meet my page goal for the year. Other ways to look at this is a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 concept, or maybe it is a habit and activities that you want to stop. Maybe you don't want to put a goal at all because you just want to kind of acknowledge that these are here. Maybe this is where kind of those maybe mental and emotional reminders are to help you feel the way you want to feel this time next week, which again is the be kind to myself, acceptance of myself, get enough sleep, more fresh food. I saw on like the other routines was you feed the cats, you feed yourself, kind of those reminders. And just because there are 5 lines doesn't mean you need to fill in all 5 lines. And you can also add more lines if that's also your jam for that week. What I also like is the opportunity to circle some of these. So we have folks that will track their Sonder socials, we'll circle those, but we also know that sometimes your work week, if you have a work week, will look a little bit different than your weekends, kind of those type of things. Same thing with this can also always recommend adding something fun. And that can be everything from the New York Times puzzles, which I feel like we all reminisced about as well, but also the silly thing of like, maybe you want to dance like nobody's watching, sing like nobody's listening, or make a new playlist, do something fun. I've gotten into a big like kind of walking with the beat of the song. So then I feel like I'm like a main character with my theme song playing. So it's those little things of the opportunity to add in the habits and activities that you want to do, that you want to change, that you want to stop, but also still overlaying something fun, something that makes you happy, something that makes you smile. Because at the end of the day, this shouldn't be seen as a negative trigger tracker because you didn't do something. It maybe is you didn't do it because maybe that wasn't a habit or activity that maybe you needed to track, so you can change it. Or maybe you just didn't set yourself up with the right mindset or the manage your expectations. And that's where I feel like it's one of those things you have the ability to set this up to push yourself, but at the same time still make it achievable so that this isn't again a negative setback for you. So let us know how you use your habit and activity tracker. Do you have the relationship with the monthly tracker? And at the same time, let us know what you're working on this week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Love seeing all of your different approaches to this, as well as all the cool stuff you guys are doing. And then I feel like I always like to include, I'm a big Instagram fan, to the point of I probably should start tracking and limiting my social media access. But I love the various hype pages when it comes to Instagram. They have such beautiful visuals for fun things to always add. So I always include various versions of these. So I know some of y'all are still digging yourselves out from the snowy days. There's always an opportunity to add something fun or something that still is kind of a calming progression as you go on your self-care journey. So we are now going to flip the page to page 47. And so again, we'll be repeating myself, but page 47 to me is the B side. I treat it like the B side of an album. I am a music fan, always have been. And so I lovingly refer to this as the B side because it has some amazing gems when you need them and when you want to listen to them. But do I use it on a regular basis? No. That's what the A side for. And that's what the first page is for. Second page is as I need it. And there have been some amazing repurposing opportunities for here. I love the meal plan to use when I travel. I use it as a wardrobe tracker so that I do not overpack, but I'm also ability to kind of repurpose and rewear some of the items. Same thing with, I have an autoimmune condition, so I've tracked real-time symptoms for real-time intake just to make sure I have that. This is also another one of those where you can put, maybe this is where your to-do list lives. Maybe this is actually where you do your meal plans or track maybe dinners. Maybe this is again where you put a work or school study, exercise tracker, cleaning plan. What we've started to see, which I think is a very lovely version of this, instead of just a meal plan, it's the meal plan for your soul. So they have included journal prompts that they then use on the weekly spreads, which are the follow-on pages of, I believe, 48 and 49. And that's where you can then mention and answer all of these different prompts. It can also be just where you have some other reflections. There is an elegant way to kind of reflect or do kind of those different things that live there. Maybe this is a health tracker. Maybe this is where you put those really lovely affirmations from the app. And then we also have been, someone wanted to feel composed. That was the way how they wanted to feel this time next week. So they put composed. And so they are then kind of reverting back and connecting back the first page to the second page with how did I show composure today? So again, if you were feeling kind of, again, we'll go with the theme ambitious. How did you show ambitious for the day? Ambition for the day. Sorry, wrong tense. It happens. So let us know if you repurpose this section. Do you have a couple different ideas? Or again, do you treat it as the B side, which gives yourself the permission to not do something? And again, we're not here to trigger. It's there to track, it's there to help with the progress, but not be the determination of the progress. I think Nona put it very elegantly in the chat. So that's where I finally came. And again, this was probably after 2 years of struggling with this page, and I gave myself permission to use it when I needed it, but then not feel bad if I didn't. So let's start with the B side and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved seeing all the different uses for this page. Definitely still saw some meal plans. But then I loved Jan's. She's actually using it to practice the new language where she writes down the language. So also, again, a great space. I think it is really nice when you can repurpose it for one of those. It's a great template. And so the opportunity to repurpose for what you need, I think is fantastic. So still continuing again on page 47, again with the type of repurposing that we do see a lot, the Mind Body Health Plan is another one of those that gets repurposed. So this can absolutely be maybe something that you schedule. These are the type of things that you want to schedule each day for your mind, body, and health. Or maybe this is something that you can also track in real time as kind of maybe what you did for your mind, body, health. But this is another place for the wonderful alliterations of Motivation Monday, Talk It Out Tuesday, Walk on Wednesday. Or maybe this is the Mind Spirit Health Plan. Or what I do love is the T chart at the bottom left with the self care plan, which is the I feel this today, therefore I need this. Or again, it can be another great place for stickers and iconography to describe what type of things you want to do for your mind, body, health. Or this can be maybe where you're focusing on the 7 types of rest. Maybe this is where you do a reading log, or maybe this is where you kind of have your journal prompts for how do I care for myself. Maybe this is also where you track your cleaning and your chores or the not so fun things. Someone does their daily rows here, which I am a big fan of. That was my homework for a really long time when I was working with my therapist. I had to tell them something that I did very well each day, which was a challenge. And then also on this page, we have the shopping list. Again, a really great square that you can repurpose. Maybe this is where the bingo lives with the celebrate the wins or the boring stuff bingo. Maybe this is where you're trying to establish those rituals and routines. Maybe this is just the self-care reminders, a prayer list. Again, stickers, bingos, but it also could be a read and a watch, or maybe a shopping list with the don't buy and the buy. And then at the, again, the bottom with the I am loving. So right now, I am loving the fact that if you Google animal and aspiration quotes, you get the most magical things that have made me so happy. I found the little goldfish with the shark fin, the penguin, and also I found the turtle and the lion. So if you need a huge pick-me-up, Google whatever animal and aspirational quotes, and it is the greatest thing I have ever seen, and it makes me so happy. So let us know how you are closing out this page with those repurposing, and we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Love seeing again the repurposing and then kind of the aha moments when you use it absolutely as intended. But thank you again. Like I said, what I was loving was the animal aspiration and affirmation. So that made me really happy. To the point I think I'm gonna have to Google some more. So if you come to future socials, there may be more animal inspiration quotes. And as always, we love to see your pages, not only in the app, but certainly love tracking them. And if you do need a little bit of reminders for hard days, here are some of those affirmations that I'll come back to it. But can you believe that we have come to the end? So the hour goes so quick, but it is such a magical hour spent with all of you. As always, the survey is there, so let us know if you want to see different socials, different times, different schedules, more socials, different type of socials, and the ever amazing YouTube link that if you miss a social, show up late, need to leave a little bit early, you will be able to search it there. We have like over 600 different socials. We also have some of the older life workbook socials. Definitely can be there. I will also include my Spotify playlist. I save all of my playlists from each of the events I do. So if you follow me on Spotify, you can find some really great 30-minute-ish playlists that are a fun combination. So thank you again for everyone for joining us. I hope you have an amazing rest of your weekend. I know you're going to have an amazing week, and we will see you soon. Bye.
If I could reach the top of the world, be all I am, it'd be so beautiful. If only I could be brave and I could be strong, I would know where I belong. If only I wanna feel free to be who I am. What I'm about is more than I've been. Ready to show the world who I am. Start letting out what I'm holding in. Find my own place to stand, so I can be who I am. I have it inside, I know that I do. All that I am is gonna break through. If only I could believe and live it right now. Take the time to work it out. If only I wanna feel free to be who I am. What I'm about is more than I've been. Ready to show the world who I am. Start letting out what I'm holding in and find my own place to stand. I can be who I am. Oh yeah. I'm closer to what I'm meant to be. If I try, I know that I can get there. I'm not gonna stop 'cause I believe that there's so much more to me. To me, there's so much more.